This is a PSA for y'all to not leave things to the last minute, like I have this week. Hi, I'm Hynud, and welcome. Before I actually get started with today's review, I just wanted to take a moment to actually talk about, well, not really talk about, inform you about what's going on in Palestine, which is absolutely horrifying. You know, Palestinians are dying and their homes are getting destroyed, and I want to do whatever I can to help in any way that I can. So in the description box I'll go link a Twitter thread of like GoFundMes that which you can donate to. I'll also put down other donation links that you can send money to. And if you cannot donate for whatever reason, I would encourage you to share those links and share what's going on in Palestine, because it is just, it's horrible. I have no other words to describe it. Please help out wherever you can, and thank you for doing your part and raising awareness about this issue. Now let's get straight into the video. Today we shall be talking about 2016's movie that was Oscar nominated, La La Land. This is a movie I've been wanting to watch since I saw the trailers, but I just never got around to it. And now, 5 years later, and I'm just now watched it and reviewing it. So La La Land centers around Mia, an aspiring actress who lives in Los Angeles, and Sebastian, who is a jazz pianist who eventually wants to open his own jazz club. They fall in love and navigate through their dream careers. She's going for auditions and he's playing at random jazz clubs, but he's essentially unemployed. Eventually, they have to break up because their dreams are going in completely different directions, and there is no way that they can actually keep the spark alive, so to speak. So they break up. It's sad. Whatever. Now fast forward 5 years and Mia is a successful actress. You know, she got her dream job. She is also married to a different man who we don't know the name of, but you know, he's a different dude. And she has a child. So you can say that she's, you know, what's the expression? Like, she's got it going for her. You know, she has a pretty good life. So one night, on a date, she and her husband go to a random jazz club, which turns out to be Sebastian's. You know, he also made it in life. His dream has come true. Sebastian performs. Mia has this really weird dream sequence of what could have been if they had not broke up. But eventually she snaps out of it. She and her husband leave the club. She takes one last glance at him, and that's the end of the movie. Now, the first thing I want to say is that this movie very much reminds me of Cats. I know, that's a very bold claim to make, but let me explain myself. The entire time that I was watching this movie, which is around 2 hours and 7 minutes, I just was waiting for this movie to end. Very much like my experience with Cats, which, by the way, I also made a video on. I'll link it up above, and you should definitely check it out. But unlike Cats, I was not waiting for this movie to end because of just how horrifying it was to watch, because, oh god, Cats was a horror movie in disguise. Which brings me on to my first point, and possibly the only good thing I have to say about this movie. And that point is La La Land, the movie, is very aesthetically pleasing to watch and to look at. It has this like 1960s feel to it, you know, in like the way the sets look, how the sets look, the outfits, and the way the film is shot. And it also has this like technicolor aspect of it in terms of like the outfits, because the outfits, especially Mia's, were very like bright colors, and the lighting was used in a certain way to kind of highlight some aspects of the movie. You have those two elements also with modern technology thrown into the mix. You have all these like Technicolor and 60s look to it, but at the same time they have iPhones, like they have laptops. I think I don't remember seeing a laptop, but you know what I mean. You would think that these three elements all mixed together would just make such a terrible combination. In theory, those three things should just look like absolute dog. When I think like 1960s mixed with Technicolor, mixed with modern technology, I would be like, ew, who would want to watch that movie? But somehow, some way, this movie managed to pull that off. They took the concept of those three things and they made it look good. I can rant all I want about why I don't like this movie, but I will give credit where credit's due. I will give the movie applause for making three completely different concepts blend in and like blend well together is what I'm trying to say. But despite this, like aesthetics wise and how it's like very nice to look at, despite that, that does not change the fact that this movie is just so goddamn boring. That is why I absolutely do not like this movie. It is bland and boring as hell. I doubt that even Satan would want to watch this movie. You know, if you're a fan of this movie and for whatever reason, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. This movie is boring and you cannot change my mind. And you can sue me for all you like. Actually, please don't. Please don't sue me. And the only reason that I can think of as to why me, a normal person, would hate a movie, would think that this movie is boring as hell, is because movies like La La Land is not made for peasants like me, for mere mortals like me. These kinds of movies are made by serious film people for serious film people. You know, people who just love to rub in the fact that they know film more than you and they know how to make a film more than you. That's what this movie is for. It's not for people like me. Film people do not care about what the audience member, have to say about these kinds of movies. They don't give a about what I have to think. They'll probably insult my entire whatever. They can insult me all I want. I don't care. This movie is boring. But I am getting a little bit off topic. Now, you may be sitting there asking me, why don't you like this movie? I happen to like it. Why do you think it's boring? I'll tell you why. I remember when this movie came out, and all of the advertising for this movie was saying that this movie is a musical. It's going to be the most grandest, biggest, voluminous musical that you will ever see. It's going to be revolutionary in the movie industry. They did not say that. I am exaggerating. Now, as a lover for musicals, although I am not a musical guru, I am no expert of how musicals are made or what makes a musical, but I can tell you, as just a mere fan, that this movie is not a musical. This movie is just a movie that just happens to have songs in it. and maybe just a little bit of singing. And I will explain why. For you see, this movie makes up 100%, right? 60% of the movie is spent in silence, as in no singing, no talking, no nothing, just silence with like do 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 do, like playing in the background. The next 30% is random songs that have nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. It's the same with cats. When I tell you, that annoyed me so much. I'm getting angry because of that. I'll show you an example. Not show you, I'll tell you an example. The first 5 minutes of the movie is a song about sunshine and dreams or Los Angeles or whatever it's about. Do you want to know, or can you guess, what happens to warrant that song? I'll give you a second. The singers and dancers of this sunshine song are stuck in a traffic jam on a highway to, I assume, Los Angeles. That's it. That's all they're doing. They're stuck in traffic. And so I guess that's a prompt to sing and dance. And what really annoyed me about that stupid ass sunshine song is that they don't introduce the main characters who also happen to be in that traffic jam until after the song. Like, that's not how musicals work. You see, that song would have made more sense if, like, we were introduced to the main characters and the main characters started singing the song about their hopes and dreams of being in Los Angeles or whatever the song is about. And the other people in the traffic jam just were their backup dancers, right? That would have made more sense. I would have been like, okay, that's like quite a nice way to introduce the musical aspect of this movie. But no, the song is sung by just random people that we do not see for the rest of the movie. What is the point of making a musical movie or if you're not gonna link anything to the songs or link any of the songs to the plot or whatever? Let me continue before I get too annoyed. And finally, to make up the last 10% of the 100% in the movie is actual story progression. At some point, Sebastian joins a band, a new gen jazz band, because he has this obsession with jazz for some reason. And Emma, that's the actress, Mia gets rejected by a lot of auditions, and the story goes on. Because the majority of this movie is spent in silence, the story itself is just not interesting. I know that sounds horrible. Like, I'm basically just saying I don't care about the people in the story. I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. When 60% of your movie consists of only silence with but music going on in the background, there is no investment. You're not invested in the characters by listening to their stories and hearing about their stories. The only thing that made me like invested in the story was like Mia and her failing to start her acting career, because at some parts of the story we see her fail auditions over and over again, and she's losing hope as a result of that. At some point she puts on a one-woman show, a stage play kind of. Not a lot of people show up, and she's kind of discouraged from that. You know, she's like, okay, that's it, I'm done. I am tired of being disappointed constantly. I'm just gonna go back home to my parents. I'm going to go to college again, because clearly this acting thing is not working out. But other than that, there is no other investment into the story. There's this whole thing about Sebastian not finding a job and having to pick up other pianist jobs to kind of make ends meet and save up money for a club. But like, a part of me, I'm just like, I don't care about Sebastian. Why would I care about him? He's just a jackass, a broke-ass little bitch who's just too obsessed with jazz for some reason. Like, why do I need to care about him? If the story was just about Emma herself, I would have just been completely fine with it. But apparently they have to waste 2 hours on Sebastian too. You know what I mean? Like, the lack of story progression is just, I have no investment in it. And which is one of the reasons why it is just so boring, and I was just waiting for it to end. So these three elements, continuing on by percentages, these three elements create the 100% whole of the movie, right? This combination of these three factors turn this movie into a nonsensical fever dream of a movie. And because this movie is a nonsensical fever dream, at many points, too many points, this movie gave me severe whiplash. At various points in the movie, there is kind of this weird thing that it does where it goes like back and forth between different scenes. At some point, me and Sebastian were singing at a piano, and then it goes into this little scene in which Sebastian is like signing up for the band, the jazz band, led by John Lennon. John Lennon's dead. John Legend. That's his name. Yes, this band is led by John Legend. And Mia is like preparing her one-woman show. And then it suddenly cuts back to them at the piano. And there are various points in the movie that does do this. And those points in the movie do just leave me completely and utterly confused. You know, you remember that sequence in which I mentioned Mia's dream sequence of like, oh, what could have been if Sebastian and I had not broken up? First of all, I want to say that whole thing was very aesthetically pleasing, but also the way it was set up, it was kind of weird. One moment, you know, Mia is in the club watching Sebastian perform at the piano, remember, at his club, and then suddenly this dream sequence starts, and I'm just sitting there confused as to like, what the hell is going on? What is happening? What is this? And then suddenly it cuts back to reality, and I'm just confused. I'm just thinking, okay, what the hell was that? You know, was that some kind of like alternate universe in which, oh, what could have been, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the way the movie set it up, when the dream sequence was like cut back to reality, the shot was on Sebastian. So I was thinking, oh, maybe that was Sebastian's sequence. You know, maybe he's thinking, oh, if only we hadn't broken up, like what could have happened? We could have had kids, we could have gotten married, blah, blah, blah. I look on Wikipedia. Turns out it was Mia's dream sequence the whole entire time. They could have just like cut to her rather than him. Why was it on him? Because that implies that he was the one having the dream sequence, but it was hers the whole time. I was just left confused throughout that whole thing, and like similar scenes happen throughout the whole entire movie. I'm probably making no sense. Also, some of the camera work in this movie just left me asking, why? I will say, there are some scenes in this movie where I actually liked the way the cameras were set up. There were some scenes in which I felt like, oh, that was actually a very nice way to portray that scene visually. For example, there is this part where Sebastian stops by Mia's parents' house where she's staying. The whole time throughout that whole conversation, where she's explaining why she has given up her dream, the camera just stays on her with Ryan Gosling's back to it, which I thought was really nice, and I appreciated it capturing the way she was really heartbroken about the whole thing because clearly it was a dream of hers and it did not work out. But other scenes, I don't know why those had to exist. The camera work in this movie is how I know this was made by a film person. Film people are very particular. They're very insistent on how like camera angles work and camera shots. They're very, very picky about that stuff. That's how you can point them out, identify them out in the wild. I don't know about y'all, but whenever I watch a movie, regardless of the genre, I prefer to never get whiplash, whether it's visually or story-wise or whatever. I don't want to get whiplash. But you know, hey, that's just a personal preference of mine. You know, you could love getting whiplash from movies and go through confusing roller coaster rides, but hey, to each their own. I'm going to do the rest of my face off camera because I have no other opinions about this movie. And I will let you know my final thoughts about La La Land.
One eternity later.
I am back, and this is my full beat face. I tried out a new like complexion technique in which you put your contour and your concealer before your foundation. So far, I'm really liking it. But you're not here for what I do with my makeup. You're here for my final thoughts on the movie La La Land. I do not like this movie. One, it is extremely boring to me. And second, it is not a musical. Don't let the advertising fool you. I don't want to say I hate this movie because there are elements of it that I do like. As I mentioned before, the aesthetics are very nice to look at. Some of the camera work is also very good. That does not mean that I will ever watch this movie again, even if you had a gun to my head and told me to watch this movie or else I'll die. I guess I'll see you in hell. I do also know that this was nominated for Best Picture in the Oscars in around 2017. Boy, I am so glad that it did not win. I also want to say, full disclosure, full transparency, I have never seen Moonlight, so I can't tell you what I think about that movie. If you want me to watch it and do a review on it, you can let me know down in the comments below. But based on the premise of Moonlight, I can say I am sure it's a hell of a lot better than this movie. I also know that Emma Stone won Best Actress in a Leading Role for her role as Mia in this movie. And I will say that she definitely deserved that. She was really good in this movie in the way she acted, of course. You know, she was the part of reason why I like this movie. But all in all, I don't like this movie. If you want to watch it, go ahead, but I will say it is boring. So good luck. And those are all of my thoughts, feelings, opinions about La La Land. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and comment down below whether you agree with me or disagree with me and what you thought about the movie La La Land. Comment down below any other movies that you want me to watch. Everything on my face shall be listed down below, along with the donation links for Palestine, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Subscribe to my channel for makeup, movie reviews, and everything in between. I have no qualms to do anything on this channel. And I will see you the next time I upload. Bye!